It's a great day, guys. Welcome to the Speak and Sell. This is really a bonus session called the Master Closer Story Framework. And one of the biggest challenges that are really facing entrepreneurs today, at least those folks who are speaking on a live stage, or those individuals that are using webinars as one of their platforms, or those individuals that are doing Facebook Lives, or maybe those individuals that you're listening right now, you're doing virtual events or you're doing podcasts, is hey, how do I make an offer or have a closing story that leads them, a framework that leads them to purchasing my programs without sounding overly salesy, or in many cases without sounding pushy or arm twisting, right? And what's the best frameworks? What's the best systems? What's the best structure that gives me the capabilities to do that? And I get that. I was talking to one person and kind of sharing with them that look, they're past having the audience do a standing ovation, and we want that. We want the applause. We want the recognition. We want that. They said, I need them now to clap with their wallet. And if you're out there listening right now, you're an entrepreneur, you're like, Jay, that's me. I need them to start clapping with their wallet. And I know that's um, a saying that might sound a little humorous, but really for you to serve, you've got to be able to sell them. And somewhere in that conversation, you want to make sure that you are authentic, that you are transparent, and that you can speak from the heart. You can be yourself. And more importantly, you can actually be able to make the offer and feel good about it. So if you're listening out there right now, do me a favor. I just want to make sure that I can be seen and heard. Sometimes I start these things and I'm not even sure if anybody can hear me or not. So do me a favor, just real quick, if you're in here and you can hear me, and I know I'm not just talking to myself because this is live right now as we're broadcasting, look in the comment section. Just look at the comment section and just put hashtag speak and serve. Just put hashtag hashtag born to serve. Hashtag born to serve. Let's do that. Hashtag you were born to serve. And yes, this is going to be a very special session. I get it. But I also want to make sure that in this special session that I can hear you. So you just go, I know we're delayed sometime. You were delayed sometimes. So let me see if I can do this. Move this, put this here. And you just put hashtag born to serve. Hold on, let me do this. Go here, here, here. I lost the one that I had there. I'll go find it in a second. Is this it? No. Oh, here it is right here. Okay. No, that's not it right there. Nope, that's not it. Nope. Here we go. Sorry about that. I just want to do a quick recap. So in the comment section, just do me a favor for those folks that are out there and just put speak to serve. Just want to make sure I can hear you. So if you can hear me, just put we can hear you, Shay. Just put we can hear you. Let me just do a refresh. I know sometimes we're delayed. Is this thing on? Yep, that thing is on there. Just double checking everything, ladies and gentlemen. Just double checking. But just post we can hear you. Okay, this is great. Okay, I'm getting some folks that you're texting me. That's kind of nice. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's jump into it. Thanks a lot, knowing that you can hear me. Let's jump right into it. First, let me just do a recap. We had this 5-day challenge. I know some of you already got the workbook. Some of you are already going back through the videos. Some of you are already over in Speak and Sell Academy. We'll get to that in a minute. But this whole premise was how to get booked and paid on stages. And for you to do that, you've got to say something. Got it, Shay. Got it 100%. So myself and Dr. Cheryl Wood, and some of you know Dr. Cheryl Wood, you had a chance to go back. I'm not going to do a whole recap. We spent 5 days, and you can go back over the 5 days. You can see the 5 days. But one of the questions that came back was, Shay, when I'm telling my story, Shay, when I'm sharing my message, what can I do as I'm talking to help move the person forward? And I said, well, that's a really good question. And I'm going to share one of our master closer story frameworks, which I'm going to do in a moment. And the reason I want to do that is I want to give you a tool that you can use immediately. So let me pull this up here. Let me first take this down and let me get right to the main reason why. Here it is here. Let me go. Well, I guess I could leave it up there. You guys don't really care. I mean, maybe you do care, maybe you don't care, but let me see. This is all in the workbook that you guys, many of you already have. Okay, The reason I want to do this, I wanted to take this down. Wanted to spotlight for those folks that are doing the funnels, and that's very important to you. Oops, wrong one. Maybe it's this one. Here it is that when you have a story, it doesn't matter which one of the funnels you're using. This is just a quick recap because I'm going to talk about the framework. I'm going to talk about the story, but you might be wondering, how can I use it? So webinar is one way, live stage is another way, virtual stage is another way. Got it, Shay? A podcast is another way, on your daily broadcast or another way, inside your emails or another way, on your social media posts is another way. And some of you are creating a lot of digital media content, and that's another way. But all of those go into one place, and that's a sales funnel. That's a sales funnel. Now, I shared last time about 10 different type of sales funnels, and why am I doing this is so that you have the framework before I teach to say, okay, Shay, when I leave here, I can apply this immediately. Yes. And you're going to give me a framework. Yes. Got it. So for some of you, you're going to use this framework as part of your high ticket appointment funnel. So some of you have a strategy, you have a funnel that leads them to your high ticket. Others of you are going to use it for your Facebook funnel. So some of you are telling stories. Some of you are sending DM messages. That's direct messages. If you got to hold this long lost file and Facebook's no longer around, then it's probably not relevant. But for us today, it is relevant that you're sending a DM message. You're saying something. How can you embed or close a story in there that gets them to either schedule an appointment, or in some cases allows them to move to the other side and opt in to one of your funnels. Some of you are doing live webinar funnels. This is live. You have an evergreen funnel that you want to tell that story and to get a close. That means it was pre-recorded, yet it's on a replay. And many of you watch the replay. More people watch the replay than live, obviously. And it's important. But here's the most important part of the funnel that I want you to share with you. And this is why I want you to get the master closer story down. And that is for your lead generation funnel. Now, put this in your notes. It's just as important that whatever you're going to give away, there's a free offer that gets them into your system, that there's a story that's connected to it. So they're probably going to an opt-in page. You promise them a free gift. They're putting in their first name, last name, phone number, and email in exchange for the value you're going to give them, right? And it's just as hard to give away a free gift as it is to sell. But here's two things you can do, other than the master closer story that I'm going to release, is that inside of the gift, make sure the gift is so valuable that you could sell it. And this is very important because it's not about another handout, another workbook. It's the value. It's the value. And in many cases on your opt-in page, you want to have a story that leads to the call to action. So the biggest challenge a lot of my clients have is after they get the branding and after they know what they're going to do, the challenge is, Shay, how do I embed that in my sales funnel that sells? So we're going to talk about the funnel because that's what's near and dear to me, but we're also going to talk about the story that you can use on the stage. There's going to be multiple ones, but the framework, well, the framework works, right? The framework works. Okay, now, for those folks that are posting and asking about the VIP and get the book and so forth, I think we posted some of the notes. We'll do that. I'll share those details with you later. But I'm also going to share, well, if you want to know, you can go to Speak and Sell Challenge, Speak and Sell VIP Experience.com. I think that's it. Speak and Sell VIP Experience.com. Speak and A-N-D Sell SELL VIP Experience.com. And that's where you'll get access. I think there's a special offer there, lifetime access to the Speak and Sell Academy that Dr. Wood and myself are put together. All the content is in there. We're loading more content in there, and the workbook is in there, and I'm putting some other special trainings in there. So it's going to be a hub. It's a one-time special offer. You'll see the details if it's still available for a handful of folks, and it's a lifetime membership. So just pay one time, you never pay again. It should certainly pay for itself. I think it's under $300. It might even be under 100. I can't remember. Okay, the reason I'm telling you that story is that inside of your sales model that we talked about during the challenge, I'm going to share with you exactly where in the model that you're going to be applying your story, because it can go multiple places. So you're always telling stories, got that. But now you're getting to what I call a master closer framework story. And then you move from just storytelling at some point to story selling by still being yourself. And some of you do that already naturally. I wasn't natural. I recall when I first got out of undergraduate at Morgan State University, the year was 1991. Don't date me. Don't try to think about how many years ago that was. Okay. It was too many years ago. And I worked for a company called Citicorp, which later became Citibank. And I was a management associate there, going through their program to later become a director. But the point is, I had a challenge, right? I was there, and this is for folks who are maybe not entrepreneurs. Maybe you're a dualpreneur. You work a full-time job and you're a full-time entrepreneur. But I'm there, and I thought I was communicating, but it seems like I was being too emotional, right? And I thought I was being motivational, but I guess they thought I was being too preachy, I guess is the word they called it back then. And so they sent me off to Toastmasters International to learn how to be able to communicate in short, brief stories, and more importantly, how to have more confidence starting talking in front of a group, because I had a group of time, 25 individuals. And I thought I was confident, but I guess I really wasn't confident. I wasn't corporate confident, just like I'm not really still a corporate type of speaker. I'll say it like that. Oh, I thought this frame on me. A corporate type of speaker. I should be going here. Let me see. Speaker. So my point in telling the story is through Toastmasters, I learned 10 different structures, and that was cool. And then I went on, I think it was bronze and then silver, and learned many other structures. But the missing piece for me was I got better at communicating and being really formal, and it's needed. I love Toastmasters. As president of my class, president of my club, I love it. But it wasn't short teaching me later how I needed to quote unquote sell. It did give me the structure. And one of the things I enjoyed most about Toastmasters, all my Toastmaster folks out there, if you're a Toastmaster person, just drop a number 2 down. Just drop a number 2 in the comments, right? What I loved about it was the learning, the training, the giving back. And I learned table topics. And table topics is how do you tell a story in 2 minutes or less to get your point across. Table topics. I love table topics, okay? I tell you that story to tell you that maybe you are natural already and you're really good at what you do. And communicating is not a problem. People love you, but the conversions aren't happening on the other side. In fact, when you go look at your bank account, it doesn't reflect how good you are. Or maybe you're like myself. Maybe you already teach this and you teach marketing and messaging and stories, but you're like me, you believe you had the potential inside of you to perform at a higher level. And when the question is asked to you at any point in time in life, when do you stop learning? The obvious answer is you never stop learning. And so you're here today. So the conversation we're going to have today is totally for you. It's going to be a good use of your time. I see somebody put number 2 there. What's up, Toastmasters? Okay. But it didn't teach me how to sell. And then just to fast forward and pulling up the things so we can get started now. Here it is right here. And then when it came to being in business, and I used to be talking to clients one-on-one, and because I'd never done sales, right? And because selling wasn't my thing and I hated selling, I didn't know I was doing selling. I never knew how, I should say is the question, the transition, right? And have you ever been, I don't know, I'll say the car dealership because everybody hates the car dealership, right? But have you ever been talking to someone, I'll use those words, and the conversation's going great, you feel like they're best friends, and then all of a sudden something changes, right? And they start to sell you. And you can change some changes in their body rate, their physiology, their tonality. Something just changes. And it's not a good thing or bad thing, but they become not a different person, but you know they're quote unquote in their sales mode. And I hated that. And I didn't want to be that. I think I'm going to get to this in a minute. Let me find this on here. Here we go. It's catching up to me. Is it catching up to me? I didn't want to be that person. And it wasn't until I was having a conversation with one of my mentors. His name is Eric Loftholm. And he shared with me the concept of learning sales scripting. And then he shared with me the concept of getting better at what I say and when I say it and how I say it. And then from there, we started using language patterns to kind of understand at least how to communicate, that I decided that I wasn't alone, that there were a number of folks that were like me. They weren't born sales folks. They aren't natural sales folks. They may even have a severe stuttering problem when they was smaller, like I was in the third grade. There's a lot of things that might have been similarity. And what if I could take the frameworks that I've learned, and what if I can share that so they don't have to be salesy, but they can just use something? And I've looked at many different classes. Doesn't matter. Some of you have taken Lisa Nichols, and some of you have taken Brian Tracy, and some of you taken Les Brown, like I have, and some of you taking Eric Thomas stuff. And you've got a lot of these trainings and so forth. What if I can package it and take it from just selling to serving? And I'm going to share a framework with you that has really worked. We call it the closer story framework. That has worked. It's a remix on some things that I've learned, but it works so well. So let me just jump right into it. If you're out there right now and you're ready to provide more value than you've ever provided in your life, you're ready to make a greater difference for other folks. And like myself, whether you're a Toastmasters fanatic and your day has come and that's kind of cool, or whether you've never done any formal, or you spent a lot of money in coaching and speaking and services, but still the money's not coming in, then you can speak, you can serve, and then later we'll scale the business. Okay. And speaking is, in my belief, the fastest, easiest way to really grow the business. Not a new idea to you, I know. And not a new idea. So let's take a look at this over here. And this will be released in the Speak and Sell Academy. Maybe I'll take a picture of this and post this. But there are three main connections we need for closing. Now, before I do that, let me say something else that I think is important. There are three parts to a close. I know this is going to sound like second grade and you guys know this, but just bear with me now for about a minute or two so I can make this top of mind to you. When you're going through a sales cycle, and I shared one earlier, but let's just say a sales cycle, there's really three parts to the close. Jot this down in your notes. I just want you to have this so you're aware of this. So next time you're talking or you're online, you don't have to wing it. You don't have to shoot from the hip. You don't have to shoot from the lip. You don't have to be continuously, spontaneously brilliant. You can just be yourself and speak from the heart. Three ways. The first part, that's what we're going to talk about the transition minute, is a story that leads to the close that brings a benefit to life. So there's the pre-close. And the pre-close is very, very important. I'm talking to someone who this weekend will be on stage live. Congratulations. I'm not going to mention their name. In a live audience, probably over 150 people there. And I reminded them that in their 30-minute presentation that they have, they're going to block off 5 to 7 minutes if they're going to make an offer. So they got to have a good 22 minutes of strong content and then go into what's called a pre-close, which they frame what's going to happen and lead the audience to then what's called the close, which is now I'm ready to make the offer. We'll talk about that transition. And then what's called a CTA, that's the final close. This is the call to action. This is what I want you to do, which then leads them back to the audience that allow them to close very, very strong. And the biggest challenge that a number of folks have on stage, and this person won't have that, but I used to have that all the time, where I'm training, I'm in it, I'm engrossed, I'm there. It's not a hard sell anyway. And then at some point while I'm there, it's like, I didn't even leave enough time in because I didn't know the structure for the close or even the pre-close. And one of the ways that I think you may know it, and some of you may know it as, is what's called the story close. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to give you the master story framework in a moment. I'm just trying to take a minute to slow down, then I'm going to speed up real fast. But I know for some of you, you're at different places, different spaces. And the question comes saying, how do I close? How do I close? How do I close? And I want to keep it bundled into a story right now. And then we'll use the story framework. And then maybe I'll do a bonus session on signature selling style. So you know your signature selling style. That would be very important, which is how do you sell based on your DNA, based on your expertise, and based on who you are. That's very, very important. But I don't have time to get into the 7 signature selling styles here. The close means that you're going to lead your prospect. So you know exactly what story you're going to use before you get to the pre-close. Write that down in your notes. You know exactly what story you're going to use before you get to the pre-close. And I want you to have three type of stories. We'll get to that in a minute. But I want you to know that. I want you to know that. Like, okay, say if I'm doing this webinar or I'm speaking this week, what story am I going to use when it comes time to close? Like, seriously, what story I'm going to use? This is not the master closer framework I'm going to give you here, but I want to share something that's helped a lot of my clients over the years. And it's kind of 6 easy steps. And this is going to sound elementary, but you can get your phone out and put it on the notes section. You can take a picture of this. But first is to write down a collection of stories that you can have. and have a name to the story. So it might be why I started the program story, closing story. It might have been one of the benefits someone got out of the program story. It might have been, in my case, I'll tell you about Carol, the Carol story. Carol was going after funding with a nonprofit. And one of the things that Carol could do is she could connect really well, but she wasn't converting. And she wasn't getting these nonprofits to buy into her program for her to go in and help them improve the organization. And she had told success stories throughout it, but they were in sequence. We gave her 3 steps. We told her what story to tell. I said, look, say this is where the client was prior to working with you, step 1. Step 2, this is what they did. They hired you. They signed a contract. They signed an agreement. These were the terms you promised and things you promised to do. And step number 3, this is where you are today. Now we're going to wrap that. We're going to package that. We're going to bundle that and everything else you're doing. But that's the storyline that you're going to have, the premise. And we're going to mention that going into the close. Very, very important, right? How do we get there, Shay? How do we get there? Well, one of the things I mentioned to you is it relates to neuro-linguistic sales. Some of you might call it getting your story together, but neuro-linguistic sales as a story is 3 phases. Put this in your notes. And I'm going to go through this quickly. First part is, what's your baseline? So if you and I were here today and I could bring you on here live, which I could do, and I was to ask you, what story do you share at the end of your conversation to help move the person to action? Forget everything that happened before that. Like, what do you say then? And some of you may not know. Some of you are just good winging it, shoot from the hip, shoot from the lip, being continuously, spontaneously brilliant. That's not me, but maybe that's you. So that would be what's called your baseline script or your baseline storyline. But let's call it script for now, your baseline script. Then we would re-engineer the script. Re-engineer the script is I would say, well, if this is what you're going to say before you make the offer, what do you say right before that? Like a domino. And what do you say right before that? Like a domino. And then what do you say right before that? Like a domino. For those are the advanced folks that are out there, that's called presentation storyboarding, right? But you're putting everything into a section like a domino. So when one falls, the next falls, the next falls, the next falls, except we're reverse engineering it. We know what the story is. What are we going to say right before that story? What's the framework? And then what happens right before that? Then what happens right before that? Now, I know some of you are not selling. I get it. I know some of you are there to educate. I get it. I'm only talking in this type for those folks that want to have individuals that feel good about enrolling in their program, signing a contract, hiring them, downloading a free gift, showing up for a meeting. It's for folks who are entrepreneurs, or maybe you got to get your kids to do something, okay? Or maybe you got to get church members to do something because you're part of a committee in the church or whatever you're doing in your life, right? It's for folks that need people to take action. Now, once we have that, you got the baseline script, then you reverse engineer the script like a domino. And the last part is you persuasion engineer. We'll get a little bit of that today. Persuasion engineer is I say, go into one section, the domino, and you're going to make that scene as powerful and persuasive as you possibly can using very specific formulas. Now, you can rely on your gut feeling because some of you got that. That's not me. I believe, put this in your notes, that systems beat goals every single time. Put that down in your notes. Systems beat goals every single time. I'm giving you another system to add to your capabilities, and that's, master story closer framework, but systems beat goals every single time. So we go in, we provide a formula, which I'm going to give you, and that section is more powerful. Today, we're focusing on the story, your closing story, multiple ones with techniques that help guide the process and make it so much easier. Put this in your notes, please, and you might want to jot this down below. Selling is really fun, easy, and effortless when you follow a formula. Now, you collect the story, we write out the details, you make sure you're precise. Then I want you to practice. Now, this is not all we're going to talk about today. This is something quick I want to show you, but I want you to practice the story. Practice your closing story. Practice your closing story. Practice your closing story. Let me say it again. Practice. Okay. I mean, like, you know the story. You're only going to need 2 or 3. You know the techniques. You say it in the mirror if that's what you need to do. Others of you cut your camera on, like we're doing right now, go on Zoom, and then you talk your story through as if you were presenting it or you're on the phone, doesn't really matter. Then you go back and you listen to yourself. You listen for your voice, for your tonality. And why do I say that? It's an obvious answer. It's like a rush. It's because I don't want you practicing on a client the very first time you meet them. And some of my clients, they got it. They have it in their heart, and then they just kind of go jump in there and they try to wing it. And that's not going to be you, because I already know why we're telling the story. We know with 100% certainty that when you're talking to someone live on a stage, face to face, virtual like I am right now, there are three common objections that they have. Three toughest objections. Put these three down in your notes, take a picture of this. And obviously, you'll get it over at Speak and Sell VIP Experience.com. All the recordings and all the stuff is inside of the Academy lifetime membership. But it's indifference, which means I really don't have a need. Right? I do, but I don't. We can talk about that later. Number two, the price. Now, I put no money, but the price doesn't mean no money. It just might means they have the money, but this is not how they want to spend the money, because there's not a value for what they're giving you their money for what they're going to exchange right now. Common objection. And then the third one is, why now? Procrastination. Like, why now? What if I just wait another week, another 2 weeks? What happens? In some cases, nothing for some folks. And that's fine. I also know, as you're speaking to them, and we're going to get into the story in just a moment, that there's two advanced questions. And I want you to jot these two advanced questions down in your notes. The first one is, will this work for me? So you're telling the story, you're going to answer that. Will this work for me? And number one, will this work for me? And can you deliver? So first they're wondering, hey, will this work for me? Will this work for me? Will this work for me? And number two, can you deliver? Like, can you deliver on what you say you're going to do? That's one objection. And then the other, called hidden objection. The hidden objection is the objection that they don't tell you that's there, but it's hidden inside of them, is, will I do what I'm supposed to do? Will I hold the end of my bargain up? So I'm talking to someone recently, and we were talking about doing something really advanced, and we're moving at a really fast pace. And I'm promising we're going to get something done with speed, right? And I'm sharing a story of how our company is built on the premise is easy to understand and easy to execute. That's why we call it Easy Sales Hub. Easy to understand, easy to execute. And what makes us unique and different is our speed to market, right? I'm so excited. It's our speed to market, and it's how we don't sacrifice quality. And I may overwhelm the person, right? And I try to share. I shared a story or two, and I didn't get the deal. We don't get every deal, and that's okay. I don't try to get the deals. I just put the best presentation I can. But here's their biggest objection. And they said it at the end. They said, I have no doubt you're going to do what you're supposed to do. I'm just not sure I'm going to do it, and this is moving a little fast. That's fine. It's not a good thing or bad thing, right? And so in saying that, I lead that up to the person didn't buy. My takeaway when people don't buy is, I always ask myself three questions. Did I do a good job? If the answer is yes, I pat myself on the back and say, good job. The second question I ask myself is, did I answer their questions and add value of how I've done it for other folks? If the answer is yes, I pat myself on the back and say, good job. And then the third question I ask myself is, that I make the offer? Did I at least ask them to take the next step? So they're aware of the next step, but did I ask them, is this now the right time? Would you like to take the next step? How do you feel about moving forward? Whatever the close is, right? And I already know when I make the offer, they're going to have a couple of objections. And I pat myself on the back. I feel good. It's okay. I'll still eat. I'll still be able to travel, do some things around the house I want to do. I tell you that to say, you tell a story for two reasons, and two reasons only, from a sales perspective in the closer master playbook or master story framework that we're talking about. And this is very important. You either bring a benefit to life, which I can't really go over again right now, but it's on the prior recordings. So why should they do it? What's the benefit to them? Secondly, to overcome an objection that we know they have in their mind. So oftentimes when you're telling a success story, some folks are bragging, well, I worked with this person and they were so happy and they like me and they like what I did. They like how we work. They would work with us again. They recommend us to all their friends. That's one story, but that story doesn't overcome the objection. I'm going to frame a way you could do that now. And then I'm going to get into the closer because I'm on a rant right now. But let me frame for those folks that are like, Shay, I just need to know how to do the story. I just need to do a story type of close. If I could do that, I would be just fine. Let me give it to you if I can. And here's one way that you can look at it. here's the leading language. This is leading language. Leading language is a sentence you use to lead the prospect where you want to go. But here it is. That reminds me of a client who was in a similar situation. They didn't have the money. Reminds me of a client in a similar situation. They hadn't budgeted for sales training. That reminds me of a client who's in a similar situation. They wanted to talk to their wife or their husband. Here's what they did. They made a decision and took a step. Now, I'm using the word made a decision because that's important. And they did what? Took a step. You're not trying to sell them. You're not trying to convince them. You know you're going to set up a story. And so we know we're handling objection early on because that could be one of the objections. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I've got to think about it, send it to me in writing or whatever it may be. But it allows you to step back and speak to them on a subconscious mind. And now using a very, very specific technique. Let me tell you what they did. They took a step. They hired us. They worked with us. They met a second or third time. Step number 3, this is where they are today. They're very, very happy. This is where they are today. They're making progress. This is where they are today. They're seeing the possibilities. If this is making sense to you so far and you're picking up what I'm putting down, saying, hey, Shay, this is making sense. I'm going to get to the framework in a moment. But I want you to understand that the context of the conversation, that you've got to have a closing story, multiple ones, number 1. Number 2, you've got to know exactly what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, and how you're going to say it. And number 3, in doing all of that, one of the most important things you can do in doing all that is you can be transparent, you can be authentic, and you can be yourself. Put it down in your notes. I must be transparent. I will be transparent. I will be transparent. I'm not asking to be anyone else. Like I told you before, when I was at City Corp, I was trying to be the bishop of our church, one of our ministers in our church. I was trying to be other people because, you can say I was young and dumb at the time, but I'm just trying to figure it out. Today, I can just be Shay Brown. It took me a long time to get here, 50 years to get here, and a lot of mistakes along the way, so many that you don't have to make. But the key is you can speak from the heart. You can be yourself. So I don't want you to think about this is how do I convince someone or weasel someone to do something they don't want to do. We don't teach those techniques, and nor should you. So it's my belief that really the secret weapon behind all the other tools that you can learn, all the other capabilities in your business, when it comes to speaking and selling and getting paid, you're going to have a process and so forth in place. For the secret weapon, it's no surprise to many of you, is your ability to be able to communicate using stories. And I know you've heard it before. It's a cliche, but it's worth me saying because it's so true. And that is, nothing sells like success. Facts tell, stories sell. Facts tell, stories sell. So I'm getting you connected now to the stories you're going to tell. And I don't want you to put it in here now. That'll be a homework assignment. And yes, I've gone back and watched the videos. Some of you had a chance to talk to already. I've got so many more I'm going to personally talk to myself. I'm committed to that. But I always like to watch the videos. I like to hear your message, hear your story. For those that do the homework, you're amazing. You're incredible. For those that want to do the homework and don't do the homework for whatever reason, you're still amazing and incredible. You're just not as incredible. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. But this is very important. So when you use the storytelling, it allows you to talk to 2 types of individuals, right? 2 types of buyers, the logical buyer and the emotional buyer. The logical buyer and the emotional buyer. The logical buyer and the emotional buyer. It's going to sound like elementary, but it's one-on-one. But when you're in a conversation, I want you to remember that there's a logical buyer and there is a emotional buyer. I'm not going to get into the example, but I think the example I gave you, I was my wife and I. But once you can do that, and here's where this is the point I want to land here. It allows you to sell a product or service, and it doesn't really matter because you're speaking to both at the same time. Just like some of you have heard, some people are audible listeners or learners. Some people got to see through visual, and some people need kinesthetics. But at the end of the day, it all comes together. And you think about that. Most folks work very, very hard on the opening story in any keynote, but they really don't spend as much time working on the closing story. And to me, that's just as valuable. I wanted to bring up the closing framework now and then connect it. Let me do that. I had too many things open over here. And in doing so, okay. Oh, I see what it is. This is over here. Oh, oh, this is kind of cool. I see. Oh, that will cut me up. Okay. Well, I'll just show it like this then. So you'll get, if you want a copy of this, my promise, if you text me, I'll just send you a copy of these pages. You mean, download the whole PDF, be a pain in the rear end. There's a whole PDF. I'm not going to go through it. But I want to set up the premise of what we're working on. But there's a couple key points that has been taught, and my mentor teaches it, and it's so true that when you're putting your story together, at least for the closing story, you can use it for a lot of stories, but I'm focused right now on just the closing story. The first area is that there has to be the connection, right? And I want you to start off, even when you're doing a close, with an area where there was some controversy, you were vulnerable. If I'm selling health products in that moment, I might go right back to, and I remember when, I'll say myself, I was interested in, and I had a stress tibia fracture, right? And on my foot, I was training for a marathon, ran too many miles too fast, stress tibia fracture. The doctor told me to stay off of it. I didn't stay off of it. It got worse. I then went to see a sports doctor. Sports doctor works with other athletes. You know what he told me? Stay off of it. Because of that, I decided that I would have to do something different. I would have to not go running anymore at that time. And running the marathon was my goal. It was my fourth marathon at the time. And I've been talking about it, running, training about it, excited about it. It's going to be down in Miami, Florida, first time traveling. And I decided I had to switch to doing something on a bicycle, right? But you ride at the gym, the bike, which I hate with a passion, but I did it. Here's why I tell you the story, and here's how it relates to you at home. Sometimes we got to do things we don't want to do. Sometimes maybe you found yourself where you had to expand a comfort zone that you didn't want to expand, but you did it for a very specific reason. And for some folks, it's going to be uncomfortable taking the next step. Now, I was telling a story, a true story. I was role modeling for you, but I was going through first the connection. There's some challenge going on, then building credibility that I had to make a decision, and I didn't make the right decision, but I came back around, which is building the credibility, right? That I decided that I had to do something different. There had to be a change, right? Then that moves me over to the core premise, and I come back and remind the audience, why did I tell them this story to begin with? I could have had a transition there that says, I tell you this story because, right? Could have had a because frame. I'm sharing that with you, not because of storytelling, not because of my messaging and any of that. I'm telling you that because I want you to write out the name of 2 to 3 stories that you can share at the end that brings you into it. I think Lisa Nichols teaches first, you talk about me, then we talk about you, then I talk about what we are going to do, right? I think it's you, me, you, we. I think it's called the formula. But very similar to this. This is a remix version, a lot of remix versions you're seeing here. But I like first to say there's got to be a connection. You take them to a very specific scene, a very slice in the story. So it's not like early on when you talk about your story, your signature story, and all the other stories they teach you. This is, you bring them down the closing home stretch. And you got to bring them in. It's got to be this connection. And you got to reach back out to the audience and bring them in. I think Les Brown calls that a bridge to the audience, right? Well, I go back out and I bring them in and say, well, maybe you never ran a marathon before, but you know what it's like to want something so bad and couldn't get it. If that's you, now you're talking to them, then I want you to pay attention. I'm glad you're here. I want you to pay attention to what's called a direct command. It's an embedded command, but it's a direct command, right? So that's the connection. That's the vulnerability. That's the, not I'm not perfect and I had some soul searching thing inside of me, but it allows you to take a framework, stay within the structure of what you're doing, but you know the exact story. One of the objections is coming to your, I don't know, weekly calls, if that's what you're doing, could be painful. It's not always going to fit their schedule. They have to make some adjustments. And then you come back with the core premises. Now, how does that relate to the close? Because then open up the program. And let me tell you about this opportunity to work with us. It's called our sales makeover. And for some folks, it's a little uncomfortable. For some folks, it's a stretch outside their comfort zone. Then you can go back to a core premise. The core premise could be, and I'm just role models, not a sales call. role model, the core principles could be sometimes something is uncomfortable, but it's within our grasp. Say that to yourself. Sometimes you make decisions that are uncomfortable, but it's within your grasp. And if you reach out and you grasp it, then you grow just a little bit more. So it's not about your program. It's not about working with you. It's not about the money. In order for people to buy, they must first believe you understand them, not they understand you. I think that's in one of the slides we talk about a lot. So I'm telling you that because in the closer story, some people say, well, just tell me the story and I can memorize the story. No, I want it to be personal. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be you. But I want you to be very vulnerable, then come back and talk about how you were credible. If those folks that follow the hero's journey say, well, yeah, I'm on a hero's journey and somebody comes along, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and helps me. That's true. But we're looking at it from a sales view of the world. That audience, you want them clapping with their wallet. That audience, you want them going to their phones and going to your website and putting in their credit card. That person listening to your webinar, and some of you do webinars and you can be offering, I don't know, $9.97 at the end of the webinar, whatever the number is. And that webinar could produce $100,000 a year. And for some of you, $100,000 a month. That's the seriousness of the conversation that we're having. So on the right-hand side, we kind of walk through a little bit of it. I think I go through an example over here. Did I go over example over here? Yeah, I think I go over example here. I go example here. You notice in all of it, something we talked about during the Speak and Sell Challenge, I'm trying to get into closing as much detail as I can at time I have, is that it's all about the hook. We talked about hook, story, close. I think that's in one of these over here. Hook, story, close. But I'm going to go back to it. Let me stay here. So there's a couple of things you can do. You open up with a question. You can open up with a hook. And this is as you're moving to your close. Now, for some of you who are listening right now and say, Shay, I like what I hear. Shay, I just want someone to look at my closing story, the components of my closing story. And I want to make sure I have certain elements that are there and I can make the story work. I'm going to do that. And the handful of folks that are probably going to text in, I can do that. The other promise I'll make to those folks that, maybe you don't need the whole Speak and Sell Academy. You just want to get the framework we have here. You want to do the exercises, write your stories out and so forth. And I know some of y'all like that kind of stuff. And others of you have been to some of my other trainings. You've seen this before. It's not new to you. But if it is, and you want just the story closer framework, you just want this document here, we'll send you a link. You can download it. There's no cost. There's no credit card needed. There's no Zelly payment. There's no, I got you on the other side funnel to bother you. But it's my promise to you. Let me get to it. Text the word closer story. Text the word closer story. Text the word closer story to 202-270-1662. Text the word closer story. Now, you're texting that word because I'm going to give you access to the closer story framework, which I'm going to go over in a minute, and then you can plug in your story. Some of you are going to be able to write it down, take a picture of it while it's here, and that's fine. And then you're going to get a chance to practice your story. Like you're going to get your phone out like I did the other day for a number of folks, and you're going to speak right into your phone. And when you do that, you're going to do your closer story, which can't be no more than 2 to 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then you're going to send it to me and upload it and then send me the file. And then I'll get a chance to hear it and I'll just give my comments. It's like a closer story audit, right? No cost. Text the word closer story to 202-270-1662. Same number that's up here, 202-270-1662. Now, if you've never texted me before, I'm asking you to put your first name there, so I know who you are. Oh, shit, you can't even see me. This is when I get too excited. I'm asking you to put your first name there, so I know who you are. Put your last name because there might be more than one Carol, more than one Cheryl, more than one Shay Brown. First name, last name, best contact number, so we can text it right to you. We're going to text you a link. You want to put your email in there as well, but she'll email you the link, and you'll be able to go and you'll be able to craft in probably a short amount of time your closer story. Okay. Now, will it be different for a webinar versus a live event? There'll be moderations to it, just like everything else. Absolutely, you'll customize it. It'll be different on a podcast for sure. Working with someone now, they're going their 10th year doing podcasts. And they said, yeah, I've never made any money off this. I love this, is what I love to do, but I want to be able to monetize it. But she was paralyzed on what should she say on the podcast without coming across like that host is just trying to sell everybody, although she had guest hosts on there. And so she and I work together, and if I mentioned her, you would know who she is. And we start talking about one of the stories she could share. Now, she's a master coach already. All right. She's pretty good at what she does. But I looked at it from a sales lens, and she never had a chief sales officer at my level that had just looked at it from just how to sell, not the story, but the components inside of it. We went through it. She's now making that offer at the end. Has she got to sell? No. It's a $1,997 course that's online that you pay for one time and get videos to. Will she sell it? I believe, but she's confident. She feels good about it. She don't feel salesy. And she's able to incorporate it very naturally into what she's doing because she's just right into a story. Now, I don't have to convince you on story selling because you're all part of speak and sell. So I know I ain't got to do that. But I do want to bring to the other side that you got to be paid if you want to be paid. For some of you, it's a hobby. It's a gift. You just love doing it. You do it for free because you do. But some of you are like, no, I want to do it, but I want to be on the paid side. I want to be paid to speak on the stage and get paid while I'm on the stage, while I'm talking about the off the stage. So text the word to get the thing. Let me go ahead. Text the word closer. What did I call the thing again? Here it is. Closer story. Text the word closer story to 202-270-1662. Let's dive into it. 202-270-1662. Once you do that, then I myself will send you the PDF. It's a file. You'll love it. You'll love it. I think we've got a training to go with that too. I'm sure that's in the archives as well. Okay, now let's get to it. Let's go back to where I wanted to get to, which is the framework. Okay, now, and then I want to give you a super duper bonus. Inside the framework, you have the hook. So example, I want to share with you the number one mistake that coaches make when they're trying to grow their coaching business. This very overlooked, but has a big impact on their growth. So one thing I like to say is, and so you can start off with a hook. Stop what you're doing right now. Pay attention, please. I'm about to say something important. That's a hook. Okay. Interest creating remark is what I teach normally, but for most of you in the industry, you just know it as a hook. You're grabbing their attention. You're getting them to stay stop. You're getting them to tune back in for just a moment, even if they've been with you for a while. Even if they've been with you a while. Some of y'all do this naturally anyway. Okay. For me, I had to use the phrase, I'm getting ready to tell you something important. I say getting, okay? Getting. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm getting ready to say something important. You don't want to miss it. And that's a transition for me because I laugh, I joke, I play sometimes. And so I've got to let people know when I'm being serious. After you do that, the story, share your story, fall into formula. This is where I share the story and it relates to a pain point or relates to something that I talked about earlier. And I want to emphasize where they were. Now, you can start any scene of the story, but getting right to the point. One of the things I loved in Toastmasters that we learned for all my Toastmaster folks was, so there I was. They're right there with you. So there I was on stage. I was in Chicago, Illinois, speaking to a network marketing group. My first time ever speaking to a network marketing group, and I'm not a network marketer, but they allowed me to come out there to talk about how to set more qualified appointments because I knew someone who was part of it. In doing that, I'm on stage. And once I'm on stage, I didn't know how I was going to transition to making an offer with order forms because I'd never done that in my life. I'd seen people do it. I've been through training about doing it. And so I'm scared. I'm nervous. In the back of my mind, I tell myself, this is not the right time to do it. Another time. I don't want to disrespect them. They told me I could sell. They told me I could make the offer. They told me to have someone pass out the forms. There was only like 80 people in the audience. But it was big for me. So my point of telling you a story, if you want to know the end of the story is I got myself together on stage, not to make the offer, but the person in the back was doing like this with the form. Like, are you ready? Are you ready? Clock was ticking. And I was like, pass out the forms. I want to help someone in here today. And I want to leave here and make sure that someone can leave here with me and be better off in the future than they are right now. So that was my close, right? I want to make sure you can leave with me. And I've got a way to do that, right? And I was offering my Silver Partner program for those that have been with me for a long, long time. Remember, that was my weekly calls. And I would have never have done it if the person in the back, and I don't even know their name, wish I knew their name today, if they weren't back there waving like, Jay, when are you ready? When are you ready? I would have probably never made the offer. And that's because inside of here, I wasn't sure of the story to go to. I didn't know that even existed. I didn't know that was a thing. I just knew I was in the motion. I knew what I was going to say. I knew I was training on. They was with me. We were doing exercises. They were clapping. And so what's the answer? How do I resolve it? And how can you resolve it? Well, I learned something from a gentleman named Eric Lofton, right? And this is another one of his $10,000 programs. He was Tony Robbins' #1 sales guy. I attribute a lot of my early successes and some of the frameworks I use today to Eric Lofton, right? And I'm gonna give you some. This is a closing story, but this is what we do for the call to action when you're live. And he taught something called the level 10 exercise. And one of the things he said was, hey, at the end, you can do an exercise with the audience. And so if you ever been with me before, I'll do this exercise, and we call it the level 10 exercise. And here's how it works. This is have a closing one with a live audience, right? Because I know I'm gonna make an offer. It's like, okay, I want to do something. We're going to do an exercise called play at a level 10. So I'm framing the audience, right? And we all can participate. I'm going to ask you all right now. I'm almost done. I know you're excited, but please, let's all participate. I'm going to say good morning at a level 6. And that's when everybody knows I say good morning back. So I'm getting the participation. I'm not saying you got to do this. This doesn't have to be your closing story. This is our closing story, how I do it. And I'll say, good morning, everyone. And the audience will yell, good morning, Shay. And I'll say, that was great. That was fantastic. Let's do it again. Let's do it at level 8. A little more energy, a little more enthusiasm. And they'll be like, okay. And I say, you even have my permission to smile. And I'm a jokester, so I want them to laugh. And I'll get a chuckle, and that always works. And I'll say, good morning, everyone. And they'll say it the next time with a little more energy. They'll say a little more enthusiasm. Good morning, Shay. Then I do something called leading language, where we lead the audience, right? And so I'll say something like, okay, then we're going to do it one last time. We're going to do it at level 10. And I want everybody to give me everything you got. Then I'll give them an example. So, for example, when I'm at another stage, I'm speaking at another event, I'll say good morning, and the audience jump out of chairs and say, good morning, Shay! And they'll jump out their chairs with excitement as if their sales depend on it, as if their revenue depend on it, if their goals and dreams depend on it. Does everyone understand the instructions? Say yes! And the audience will say yes. So they say yes, I go right into it right there. Good morning, everyone. And I'll do it all my energy and enthusiasm. And then the audience will roar back, good morning, Shay. And then some of me jump up and down, yay, Shay, Shay. And then the punchline, I say, well, turn to the person next to him and give him a high five and say, thanks for coming out today. Thanks for coming out today. Turn to the other person and say, he's almost done. He's almost done. And then the story. The first time we did it was a level 6. The last time we did it was level, and I was going to say 8. No. First time was level what? No, I was going to say 6. Last time was level what? 10. Here's my question to you. So my close is more of a question. Over the last 30 days, as you've been going about your business, what level have you been playing at? What level are you playing at in time management? What level are you playing in goal setting? What level are you been playing at in your sales and your lead generation? In fact, last question, what level have you been playing at with the ones you love the most? You see, it's my belief you get out of life exactly what you put into it. And all the rewards go to those that play full out. And who determines what level we play at anyway? Who makes that determination? We do. So then I'll say, if you want to achieve the best results you ever achieved in your life, you must make yourself do 2 things. Jot these 2 things down in your notes. What's number 1? Expand your comfort zone. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. You got to do things that are comfortable. So I'm leading them down the path that you got to do things uncomfortable. It's not going to feel good. It's going to be a little, not shaky, but it's uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. I say, be uncomfortable, be uncomfortable. And number 2, take massive action. The universe rewards people who take action differently than those that don't. Money follows speed. Be quick to take action, be uncomfortable, but do the right thing. What I'd like to do right now is just share an opportunity for everyone out there that they're looking to really take it to another level. Ready to move from where they are now. And then I'll go into the Silver Partner Program. But the point was to get them excited and all that. The point was that's part of my closing story. I have a story before I do the exercise, but it's not about me. I want you watching, you listening, you the person that's at home that knows that, you know what, Shay, I want a framework. You know what, Shay, I want to be able to not only do what I do, but get paid very well to do it. You have a call to action. And the transition for some of you can be, so what I like to do right now. So now I'm done a pre-close. I'm at the close, and the close is just the natural progression of a well-given presentation. The close is just how you serve. The close is how you serve. The close is how you serve. Someone do me a favor in the comment section. And I know we're not doing a lot of that today, but I'm not, it's not this type of conversation, but I want you to put these words, and I think it's so important, but hear me. The close is how you serve. So the transition could be, so what I like to do right now is share how I work. What I like to do right now is share how some of our best clients get the best results. What I like to do right now is blank. In doing that, you now put yourself in a position to be able to make an offer. I'm going to tell you how we work and how it serves other folks. And then you go right into it. So the call to action is you're going to ask them to make a commitment. You're going to ask them to do something. Now, you can take this right now and you could start today. You can get your phone out and just say, okay, my closing story is how I got started and what it means to me. And you could immediately jump right into it. And in fact, immediately jumping right into it, do you know what it allows you to do? It allows you to immediately practice what you're already doing. This is very important. Don't miss this. Please, please, please. The closer story framework can be customized, but it can also be very, very personal. But what did we do? The connection, the credibility, the core premise. 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 Someone do me a favor. If you're taking notes out there, if you're taking notes, put on the connection, the credibility. It's the gram. The connectability, connection, credibility. Oh, wow, this won't let me go on. This is crazy. Hold on. Maybe it will let me go on. Let me see here. Oh, this is crazy. It's asked me to confirm. I wanted to show y'all something, but it's asked me if you're unable to log in from the authentic site. Text me. Okay, it's going to text me a message so I can get on here. I want to, let's see if it texts me. I want to show you guys something and then give you the last technique, but it's asking me to put a passcode in. This is crazy. Okay, hold on. I've got two computers going up here, so it's making me jump around, which is going to be a pain. 810653. Okay. Okay, connection, credibility. Hold up. Don't share this. 810653. Okay, hold on. What's going on here? Oh, here it is right here. Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things. I want to show y'all something that I think is going to help you. I wasn't planning on doing it, but there we go. Okay. Here we go. This is going to be amazing. And this is going to come from just another tool in the toolbox. Not now. Okay, here we go. Glow. Okay, here we go. I want to share something that you might have seen. I was on a call with someone today, and it was asking me about the doing it using an email. And they said, Che, what's one of your secrets or formulas that you use? And I want to tell you about someone by the name of Glow Graphics. And I like Glow Graphics. You can go Google Glow Graphics on Instagram. She has almost 300,000 followers. She's the only Black woman I know that still speaks on Tony Robbins stages. So you'll be able to go follow her. Just an amazing, incredible human being. And in one of her trainings, because we all learn from different folks, different places, different spaces. And I give you that you should follow her. And her ability to communicate in social media is second to none. Tony Robbins has her on his stages to talk about connecting with the audience through social media. That's what she does. But she taught this framework that I've been using for the last 2 years. So if you followed my emails and follow my messages on Facebook, it's a story, but it's a different technique. Now, all the techniques work. You're going to have multiple ways of doing things. I like to believe that tactics woven together equal a strategy. Tactics woven together equal a strategy. Okay. So here's her strategy. She calls it ACRE, ACRE. It's an acronym, ACRE. And in ACRE, she says that this one technique has helped her, and it's a combination of everything she's learned. So, you heard before, success leaves clues. This is another way to leave clue. And here it is, ACRE. First, be authentic, which is part of a lot of frameworks. You got to be authentic. So you find a story, even in your closing story, that is unique to you and only to you. That's the A. Now, in the case of my closing story, I could have mentioned the part of being on a stage. It's unique to me. I'm there and I'm speaking and I got to make an offer. That's just an example. The C stands for confrontational. There was something that was there that was holding me back from getting to where I want to get to, or it could be another character. In this case, I'm the character, from getting me from where I want to get to. So there was some controversy. In my case, it was the pit in my stomach of not wanting to really make an offer anyway, and then give myself a story while I'm speaking on stage. This is all going on in real time in my head that I'm not going to do it right now. And I can rationalize it very reasonably why not to. Why? Because I've done it before. Okay, I left places and didn't make an offer. Okay, although they told me I could. So there's confrontation. So this is where the magic takes place. The last two is where the magic takes place. ACRE. So I'm gonna put down ACRE. ACRE. Authentic, confrontational. Then the last one is the secret sauce. I said, this is bad. Oh my gosh, that was really good. The R stands for what was the revelation as a result of the story that took place. Now, I've heard a lot of different ways it's said, but not what was the revelation. So when I'm telling you a story, I'm on a stage, I'm able to say, hey, the revelation of this was that I probably wouldn't do this if the person wasn't waving the thing in the back. So you're now in the story with me. The revelation is it's uncomfortable to take certain action. A revelation that took place. Now the audience is along the story, and maybe you heard some people tell stories and it's been good, and you didn't know anything more about them or what you should do. The other you was excited and felt good. And then other people, you're into the story, but you're also like, man, what happens? What should I do? In this case, confrontation is not about the story. I'm here to formula. And then the last one is, how do we all evolve as a result of this taking place? Like, seriously, like, how do we all evolve? Now you got ACRE. You can apply that, and I want you to use that formula. I'm giving you 3 or 4, but I'm giving you ACRE because I'm a Glow graphics fanatic. Her name is Glow Atamo, by the way, but this is her Instagram handle. And I'm a fanatic, okay? I study a lot of people. I love everyone, and I could probably share you 20 different examples, but the time I have, I wanted to bring that one up because the framework is good, because the framework gives you what you need and you can plug it all in. But ACRE is something you can remember. So when I'm writing, and then you looked at the email I sent today to you who's watching right now, or you who got a hold of this video file, it was centered around, yes, being a stutter, but then I also put in a Toastmaster, something I've never written ever in an email, okay? But I said, well, let me be authentic. My company forced me to go do this. There's confrontation. Shay's not communicating. Now, I'm a fancy smancy recruited out of Morgan State. Back then in 1991, I was making good money, like $33,000, $35,000, a lot of money back then. And one of 4 recruits that they recruited all over the country. So I'm in this top echelon, and yet they're telling me that I can't do something as effective as I think I was. I thought I was a good communicator. And it had nothing to do with going to an HBCU. It had nothing to do with being a Black man. It had to do with how do I improve me? And I went to Toastmasters. At the time, I was not happy to be there. So I'm telling the story. I'm bringing them in. It's me. There's this confrontation. And then here's the revelation. You can get better at what you say. There's tools out there. There's techniques. I didn't learn that in church. I didn't know that. And then now I can look back at what the ministers are doing, the pastors are doing, others doing, saying this is what they're doing. Whether they know they're doing it or not, it's still a system, because systems beat goals every single time. I share that with you because now you have ACRE is another technique that can be inside your master closer playbook. And the E is how do we all evolve in this? It's the so what of the story. And the so what of the story is what allows you to take it to the whole next level in another place. Again, I wanted to share that with you. Some of you texted in as you're listening and you're like, Shay, I like it. I want to go back and listen to this recording. We'll do that. You can text the word closer story, text the word closer story Text the word closer story to 202-270-1662. I'll be sure to send you the closer master playbook. Is that the right one? Yeah, no, yeah. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it here. Closer master playbook framework. So you can have that. And then once you have that in your possession, you can go through the exercises. If we meet, which we will, some of you one-on-one, we'll go over your story and we'll make sure we have a moment that starts. You get a chance to get to the end, and then we can move the client forward. And if you do that for some of you, just that tweak on a Facebook Live, and you don't sell on Facebook Lives really, but you generate leads on a Facebook Live or something like that, it's going to go so far. So I'm excited. I want to keep this thing as short and brief as I can. I always say I'm going to do that, and then I get sidetracked. It's because I know for some of you, your next step, your next level, you've got what you're doing wired already. You're a master at your craft, a master at what you do. You're taking all the training to get better. The only thing holding you back right now is you want to be able to generate revenue without being salesy. And if that's you, then that's the right place at the right time. And we can incorporate a lot of that into our big ticket sales formula, because these stories that we're talking about, storytelling can be when you're setting the appointment. It could be when you're introducing the product, could be when you're starting to ask for the order. But right now, I want you just only thinking about, how do I ask for the order? You know how you're going to open up. You got that. You know what you're going to say. Many of you got that. You know what you're going to teach. Many of you have that. The only piece missing is, what do I say so I can close? What do I say in the pre-close? What do I say in the close, which is how you work? Then what do I say in the final close to help move them to action without sounding salesy? And I say that because even inside of what Cheryl was teaching earlier during the Speak and Sell Challenge, when she talked about diversified portfolio offering, and she had all these different ways that you've got to connect and you can sell products and services. Do they all need a story? Yes, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I want you to get one core one and just adapt it. I prefer 3 core ones, to be honest with you. But we get one, you can start from there, you can grow, and other ideas will happen. So if you want to get that, you want to get the notes, just do me a favor, text the word closer story, and we'll get a chance to review your story, closer story, to 202-270-1662. Again, 202-270-1662. They say the best time to plant a tree, it's been said a million times, is 10 years ago. And I think that's true. Like, the best time you start was a long time ago. The next best time to get started for where you want to get to is now. So now is the time. This is the component. It's going to be anywhere on your value ladder. I mean, anywhere on here, you can embed this. But for many of you, you get this down and you'll be able to use this for the rest of your life. So with that being said, if you have questions, for those that text me at 202-270-1662, I'm looking forward to connecting with you. For those that want to get all of the videos from the entire series, you can head on over to Speak and Sell VIP Experience.com. Again, www.speakandselljvipexperience.com. Make sure that's right. www. I ain't seen Speak and Sell VIP Experience. I think that's it. Let me see. Oh, that's it. Good. Speak and Sell VIP Experience.com. On here, you get access to the Speak and Sell Academy. That'll give you a lifetime membership, lifetime access. If we do these again, anything we put in there, which we have big plans to do a number of different trainings and modules, and release our documents, release our frameworks, release our forms that we actually use inside of there for one mission only. So you can get booked and paid to speak around the world while you coach high-paying clients, or you're in the self-education industry and you're going to share your knowledge with high-paying clients so you can improve their life, improve their business, improve the community, improve the world. So with that being said, I want to thank you for spending some time with me. You're amazing. I want you to know you're incredible. I want you to know for you, the best is still yet to come. So stay humble, stay hungry, and keep making a difference in the world. You can speak and sell and scale the business while making a difference and a dollar at the same time. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things out. We connect again next time. God bless, and I wish you all success. I'll see you on the other side. If we did a good job in the comment section, just put number one. If you walk away with some value, just put a number one. Number one is just a bat signal, That was like, you know what? There's one idea I got you that I can use. And how many ideas do you need to change your life anyway? Well, one. One good idea implemented is better than 1,000 ideas you know right now. I'm out. Peace.